Welcome to Start Before You're Ready, the podcast that proves that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin your journey towards better health and happiness. I'm your host, Kelly Young. Remember, the first step is often the hardest, but it's always worth taking. Hey guys, this is Kelly, and I am here with our first KBC community member. I am thrilled to introduce to you today Sara McNanley. She has been getting better with KBC since 2013. If you know anything about our workout community, back in 2013, we did not have any indoor training options. So Sara was one of the outdoor boot campers, part of that, what I called the outdoor boot camp team back in 2013. And I can't wait for her to share with you a little bit about her background and kind of her journey through KBC. So Sara, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and just how you got started.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everybody. I have been at KBC. I've been with KBC since 2013. Thanks to Beth Frazier. She was one of my neighbors, and she said, "Hey, why don't you come join this Saturday boot camp? It's called Kelly's Boot Camp." And at the time, I had just had I had a baby that was only a few months old, and I have been an athlete growing up. Always been loving going to the gym. Went to Olympus Gym. Was just a cardio fanatic, and honestly probably just looking for a new kind of season of working out as I started being a parent and getting into full-time parent mode and teaching and working full-time. So I started Saturdays with you, Kelly, and I loved it. I came in, I didn't know what I was getting in myself into. I'm like, these people are strong, and I'm going to give this a go. So I did. I did avoid some cold temperatures for a while, and I did not want to be in the cold. But then as I started, I would kind of inch my way along into some colder temperatures. And then I said, okay, this is totally doable. I don't know if I was skiing growing up and I can layer myself up. This was not an issue. So if you can do outdoor activities, what's the difference with working out outside? And
yes,
so that's the way I saw it. And it's me being active, and it was some fresh air, and it's just been such an enjoyable experience. I only did Saturdays for a while, but then once I started doing the winter challenges, I think I did my first winter challenge in maybe like 2017, and been doing them since then. And then I said, okay, this is the way that this is going to happen. My kids are getting older. We have afternoon and evening activities. We're busy many nights of the week, and working out for me, for my time, is happening in the mornings.
Okay, good. So let's back that up a little bit, Sara. So when you started doing Saturday boot camp, when Beth Frazier encouraged you to try a Saturday boot camp, were you doing other workouts at the time as well?
I was, yes.
Okay.
So I still had a membership at a gym.
Okay.
And I was doing spin classes. I was doing various cardio.
Okay. So you were already exercising, and you added the Saturday boot camp to your routine, and just were coming to us essentially for once a week for, sounds like, several years.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
Okay. And then when Energy opened is when because 2017 is when Energy opened. So when Energy opened, you decided to join our classes. When did you quit your gym, I guess, is my question.
Within the year, it was sometime in the next year or two after that. What I think I would do is when it got to be like November through February, I would join the gym and just be a part of it during that time. And then if I wanted to go outside, I would.
Okay, so you were a bit of a fair weather.
Yes.
Okay, but then you realize, and this is something important for everybody to realize, because I know I don't like the cold at all. And what I've realized is that when you're exercising or moving or walking, it is so much more tolerable to exercise in the cold. I tell my students to add 20 to 30 degrees to whatever the temperature is. Now, that doesn't mean you come out dressed like it's 60 if it's 40, but if it's 40, then be prepared to go down to what you would wear when it's 60, because you really do warm up. Your body temperature warms up about 20 to 30 degrees. So it is pretty doable. What we've learned is if it feels like single digits, then it's hard to get your body temperature up. And if you're holding weights, then that makes it more challenging. But I think if it was more of an outdoor girl, I kind of forgot that chapter where you were a little more fair weather. But one of the things that I think is super, super important for everybody is just to find a way to get outside, whether it be your workouts, your kids' sporting events, whatever it is. I don't think that we get outside enough. And that's why I've worked so hard to keep my outdoor program alive, even though we do have this warm, beautiful studio packed with gorgeous equipment. And sometimes it's hard to convince people to get outside. However, Sara is one of my incredible, very regular, consistent morning boot campers. So I see her most mornings that I'm out at the lot. Sara is there. And I want you, and Sara's also a working mom, and she has a lot to juggle in the morning. Sara, I want you to kind of take us through your morning, how you make that all happen.
Okay, yeah. So I wake up, I think my alarm goes off around 5:05, sometimes a few minutes after that. And sometimes I need a couple minutes to wake up and I'll get dressed. Sometimes lunches are made, sometimes they're not. And that's okay. And for my girls, I should say, and me. And so I get to boot camp. Sometimes if I get there a minute or two early, I'll go for a walk. It just feels good to have some time to myself. And it's a great feeling. So we get in, then everyone starts showing up for the boot camp for the workout. Sometimes I have to leave a few minutes early, just depending on the day of what's going on with my kids. But yeah, I stay for generally 55 minutes outside. And then I come home and we're in modes of getting kids up, lunches, laundry, who has this, who needs this. And then I'm out the door usually within the hour after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's doable. It's a balancing act. It's kind of planning ahead and knowing what you need to do. I mean, it's really nice to know that I can do this for myself in the mornings, and it puts me in a place when I go start to teaching. And my role as a teacher is a reading specialist. So I work with struggling readers all day. And I have to say, to be able to bring that positive energy into a school building, I think it does work. I definitely think it makes a difference of what I do before I come into school.
Yeah. It makes you a better teacher, and it kind of grounds you so you can take on helping these children that are struggling oftentimes. I think that that's important to note. One of the things that I love about our community is we do have a lot of school staff, like school staff, teachers, psychologists, counselors, administration. We have a very large percentage of people that work out with us and give back to our children. So that is something that lights me up, to know that, hey, I don't work with kids. I don't have the patience, but I can feed in to Sara or Debbie or Kirsty or one of my school staff members, and then they're going to go into their classroom or into their school and give that strong positive energy back to their students. That's something that is really, really powerful. Sara knows how much we love our school staff. We celebrate them every year. We try to accommodate their schedule, the different buses in the morning, the different times that they have to be there. We have classes to accommodate the people that need to work on the fives, the high school teachers that can do something in the sixes. We really think about them as we're programming. And then we also have a lot of school staff that work out from home because they just don't have the time. They don't have that extra 15 minutes. So they join via live stream. Sara's done that before, or they join via Zoom, depending on the workout, and they get it done that way. But they get filled up before they go into their day. So thank you for sharing that, Sara. And the other thing that I wanted to mention about Sara that I think is important to note is that Sara was a college athlete. So working out and creating that routine is part of your identity.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been active. I was a swimmer growing up. I did swimming in college. I did, so being an athlete and being active has always been a part of me. When I finished college, I continued workout regimen, and it was important to me. It was important to, I had small little goals for myself, and I would just, whether I was at the time trying to run a 5K or even a 10K, or just the little things to work towards, was something that I enjoyed focusing on away from what I spent most of my day on.
Yeah.
And to have goals like that outside of your work life, family life, and it's for you, and it's great.
Yeah. I remember, Sarah, something you told me about your dad. Can you talk a little bit about your parents and how they influenced you?
So my mom and dad, they are 74 and 78 years old now. My dad, he's so funny. We'll have conversations, and I'll tell him I'm getting up to go to. He's like, "Did you go to the parking lot this morning?" I go, "Yes, I did." And he's like, "Well, I was meeting my personal trainer at 5:15 this morning." I go, "Well, good for you, Dad. That's great." And so they've been active. My mom still continues to play tennis. They're both very active. They've always been active. My dad's been a member of Gold's Gym in Chantilly, and they have just maintained a active life for what they can do. They've had some setbacks with their own health sometimes, but it hasn't stopped them in getting back on track.
Did they set that example for you when you were young?
Yes, I remember
I
my
know they
dad.
encouraged you to do sports.
Yeah, my dad loved to play basketball. My dad ran races. My mom, on and off, was playing tennis. She was a teacher too. So she was very involved with our activities. I mean, we were pretty much nonstop swimmers. And she would be taking us around to all our trainings before school, after school. And it was a lot when we were in that phase. But now she gets to enjoy those things now.
Yeah. Can you share something like since you've joined KBC, a success story or a milestone?
I guess the biggest thing I when I was thinking of this question was when, I'm not sure if I should talk about, my surgery, my last surgery, or so back in 2018, I had this was going to be my third meniscus surgery. I had two on my right leg, and I had one for my left leg, and it was a really hard. They couldn't understand what was going on, and they thought there was something else other than the meniscus tear. And during that surgery, they found I had a 2 centimeter hole in my knee. And right then and there, they had the choice of doing a knee replacement or something called a microfracture surgery, where they drilled into the bone and they made it bleed to create more cartilage. And because I was an athlete, because I was so active and I fit the category of this, they chose this while I was asleep versus doing a knee replacement. So that involved me being on. So I got out of the anesthesia, and they told me the things they did to me, and I didn't know they were doing it. And they said, "Sarah, you're going to be on crutches for probably 10 weeks, no weight bearing, while we make all this happen." So kind of came out of that as a surprise, and it was definitely a hard time for me.
Yeah.
The first few days, it was kind of a shock of, wow, I can't even walk down the street. Yeah, I'm on crutches, and that was a hard thing for me. Like, just to be able, because I'm always moving around. So for me to actually be on crutches and I can't even use that leg for 10 weeks was
Yeah.
a lot for me to kind of take in mentally. And I still look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did that, but I'm back, and I came back, and it was a process. It was definitely a process to getting myself weight bearing again. And I remember probably right around week 10, week 11, probably as we were getting into December, I went for a mile walk, and it felt like a marathon. And it felt so weird because you really do lose so much muscle in just one week. I mean, they always say, I heard someone say, 7 days without exercise means 1 week. And it truly, it does. If you don't use your body in that way, or those muscles, in 1 week, you can lose a lot of muscle mass.
Yeah. Well, and so I do remember when you had the surgery and you were very concerned, and your process in coming back, you were concerned that you wouldn't be able to do everything. And that's true. When you have meniscus issues in general, there's certain movement patterns that are just uncomfortable and you have to avoid them. But you've always done a really good job of modifying and slowly reintroduced exercises that maybe you had to take off your list for a little while. And I think that that is actually really challenging for people to not be able to do everything. They want to just, if they can't do everything, they don't want to do anything. And that's one of the things that I'm really trying to help people with is share whatever workout program you're doing. You're going to have to work around something. It might be your head. It might be, your mental state of just not having the energy or not feeling like you want to do it. But there's something that you're going to have to overcome. Can you talk a little bit about that, Sara, when you were kind of going through the process of having to modify and not being able to do what you used to be able to do and not feeling as strong?
Yeah, I mean, it took so that surgery was in September of 2018. So I was starting to walk on that leg again in December. And at that point, I'm working with a physical therapist to gain muscle in that leg, not overdo it, no impact, and really try to minimize, but somehow, some way, find this good medium of I want to stay active, but don't mess up what you've worked so hard for the last couple months. And the thing that the procedure that happened, they said it would take even up to a year and a half to feel fully recovered. And I truly believe that. And it was all about listening to my body. It was listening to, okay. And I remember sometimes people in the community being like, you're limping, Sara. I'm like, I know, I need to stop. So my weakness is trying to keep pushing myself. And when I was in that first year after that surgery, I needed to be more mindful of what my body was telling me, because first it was my knee, then it was back, and then it led to other things because I was just unbalanced. But it's a matter of listening to your body, what you can do today and what needs to be modified. And
yes,
every single
it's really important. It's so much better to modify and be able to do something than to overdo it and take yourself out of the game.
Right. So we looked at that, and then we got into the winter, and I tried dabbing at a few things that would involve a little more impact. And when it felt okay, I gave it a try. When it didn't feel okay, I stepped back a notch. So,
yeah. So you talked a little bit in the intro, you talked a little bit about the Winter Challenge, and I know that that's been a fun part of your journey with KBC, and I think it's had a tremendous impact on your health in a positive way. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about that. Maybe if you can even remember your first Winter Challenge.
Yes. So I was on Team One Love, and that was such a fun experience. I forgot who got me to finally sign up for Winter Challenge, but at that point, I think I had just been a few years and just holding on to weight that I didn't want anymore. And I'm like, well, everyone talks about this Winter Challenge, so let's give it a roll. And I did. And the camaraderie, the talking with people, were all like-minded people that have a focus, common focus. It's to get better in some way, whether it was increasing workouts, increasing our nutrition. Everybody was and we were doing it and having fun. And
yes,
that was the big thing. And that's what I've always said along the way. If it isn't fun, I'm out. And that is a game changer. If you're not having fun along this way, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And so Winter Challenge, I've done a few teams, and we have some groups of friends, and I've done different groups throughout the years. The Winter Challenge starts out kind of, dabbing at different foods and different ways to get increased exercise for some people, increased nutrition, ideas. I've gotten so many ideas on how. I remember I walked up to you probably that first Winter Challenge, and I say, okay, ask how much protein do I need, Kelly? And I was looking at protein completely the wrong way. And I had no idea what I was doing with protein. And now I know I need to get 30 grams at every meal. I know what it takes, and
you need more than that, but okay.
Well, at meals and then snacks, and at the end of the day, it should be looking around 120 grams of protein. But I know this now, and I know how my body feels when I've had those right nutrients and less of the things that do less for my body.
Yeah, that's great. And just to speak a little bit about the Winter Challenge, I have had a mixed relationship with the Winter Challenge over the years because I don't love like a 6 week challenge. That's just not what I want in the mentality that I want to instill on my students. I want them to create a program, a regime for themselves that they can keep doing. But what I finally learned in the Winter Challenge is yes, it might be a lot for that 6 week period, but usually they take something with them that they learned. And in Sarah's case, it was, oh my gosh, I need to get more protein. That's like if I'm trying to change my body composition, protein is going to be the game changer. In other situations, it might be something different. But I hear year after year, I hear from our students that have stuck with us that, oh yes, Kelly, I started worrying about how much fiber I got in my diet during the winter challenge, or I started upping my workouts during the winter challenge, and then I realized that hey, I can actually do that. So it starts off as a challenge, something you think you're going to do for a short amount of time, ideally trickles into the rest of your life. And then what sometimes happens, and we're all human, and this is not the end of the world, but we're great. We're like nailing it. We're like, oh my gosh, until April, Kelly, I was really focusing on my nutrition and doing a great job with the protein and getting the fiber, and my energy was great. And then, spring, summer came around, and then I got off the wagon. We all get off the wagon, right? And the whole thing is you have to get back on. And the less time you're off, the easier it is to get back on. Can you think of a time, Sarah, when maybe like, I know for you, it's not about the workouts. You nail the workouts 100% of the time. But can you think of a time nutritionally where maybe you got off the wagon and you're just like, okay, I need to reel it in?
I've had my ups and downs, and I usually have found a program. I've done Amy's Clean and Shred,
Yep.
and I think I had a lot of education of what foods were good for me and what would help me get to my where I wanted to be nutritionally. But I think Clean and Shred also helped me understand why I need to eat what I when I make the choices and what it does for my reading labels and saying if I can't read what the word in it's not going to be clean for my body. And so that added another layer at a time I really needed it. And I think I lost about 8 or 9 pounds that year. And I didn't even track one day during that Clean and Shred.
Okay, during Clean and Shred. So that worked really well for you. And this is important too, you guys. Every body is different. And there's certain strategies that really work well for people. And it's not, so let's talk about what Clean and Shred is, because I think that that's important. Amy Byer is one of our nutrition coaches, and she realized in a lot of her coaching experiences that a lot of people don't have success with tracking. And sometimes when they start tracking, they're trying to keep into these macro ratios, and then they're having not so good for you foods. I know I've done it before, where you're like, okay, I want to, I need to lower my carbs or whatever it is. So her program, the Clean and Shred program, is really just about eating whole foods. Not perfect, not like Whole30 or anything. There's some lead way, but you're really just trying to fuel your body with the best quality food as much as possible. And it works, especially if you follow it. So that's what Sarah is referring to. And she did the Clean and Shred program. She felt like it really worked for her. And then what would you say, Sarah, that you took from that now is just part of who you are? It's something you don't even need to think about, like as far as your eating, maybe a change that you made after doing the Clean and Shred program.
I've incorporated more beans and more potatoes into my diet. I always kind of was feeling like potatoes were, ooh, no, those carbs. But I'm in my mind, I'm categorizing what are the good carbs now that I can have. And in my head, I go, okay, rice is okay a little bit. Potatoes, yes. So a lot of times when I'm putting my breakfast together, a lot of times I still love sweet potatoes in my egg whites. And if I'm really putting a nice colorful plate together, it's some slices of sweet potatoes, mixed up onions, peppers with my egg whites with some Ezekiel bread and a protein of some sort. And that
Yeah.
usually nails it for me for my breakfast. And
Yeah.
it's so delicious. It really is.
I love, you've said two things that in this conversation so far that are really probably the biggest indicators of your success. One, as you said, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that really spoke to me, Sarah, because I think that people try to muscle their way into good habits that they don't enjoy. And that's why they don't have long-term success, because they don't like it. You've got to find something about it that you like. There has to be an entryway, or there has to be some element of it that lights you up. And I think that was really important. And then when you're talking about your food, it should be delicious. And Amy would be so proud of you, because one of her goals as a nutrition coach is not for people to focus on what they can't have. It's to make the foods that fuel your body best into something delicious. And I just want to talk about that for a second, because we're on that topic. And this is something that is really significant in my teaching as well. I don't like when I hear, oh, I'm going to be bad, I'm going to have whatever. Just don't think of food as good and bad. Please don't spread that to your children. There's treats and there's nourishment, right? Like, this is what I eat most of the time, and I'm going to have a treat. And maybe there's zero redemption as far as how healthy it is. It's just something that doesn't have truly any nutritional value. But don't look at it as a bad thing. This is a treat, something that I'm going to enjoy. I think that's really, really important. And instead of doing all the focus on the things that we can't have, find a way to love the foods that are best for us, and then allow for those foods that we know, hey, no real nutritional value for this, but something I enjoy, so I'm going to have it once a week or whatever it is. That's just such a healthy way to look at eating. That's really great. Okay, so you kind of talked about this a little bit. Maybe you already got it, but maybe there's another student that's motivated you, or another instructor. Is there a lesson that you can think of, Sarah, that you've kind of picked up along the way as being now for 11 years part of this community?
I think the biggest thing is that today is a gift, movement in your body and being able to listen to your body. I think that what you've been given can be a gift no matter what setbacks you have in life. I think you were saying last week that everyone's got their own things going on, whether it's something mentally, personally, emotionally, or in some cases with me in the past, I've had some setbacks physically. But we all have setbacks. How you respond to it is where the magic is. And how you tackle those challenges is where you can choose to have these things consume you, or you can bring yourself into a new day and say, today's a new gift day. You have this gift, even if it's just going out on a 30-minute walk, you do this for yourself, and this is for you. And I truly believe that even when I go out on a walk here around the neighborhood, that I just feel grateful to be able to do that with two working legs, a couple eggs along the way, but I still do it, and it's a great feeling.
Yeah. One other question that I have for you, the name of this podcast is Start Before You're Ready. Can you think of a time in your life where you started something before you felt fully prepared?
Probably my first workout with you, and I just dove into it. I had Beth Frazier pick me up in her car, and we did it, and I said, wow. And sometimes you just got to jump in. And sometimes the story's has not been written yet, but you never know what's out there waiting for you. And it can be great. And if you don't give yourself that chance to give it a try.
How many times did Beth ask you before you said yes?
Oh, just once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were willing to put yourself out there. You didn't, a lot of times people say, my friend's been asking me for 2 years to come, or I hear it all. I hear it all. So that's good. That says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a lot. But I was curious why it was, because something that felt like you weren't ready for it, because you had done group training before and you were an athlete. So what about, was it just going to the parking lot? That
honestly,
part of it that felt like a lot.
The group training was the thing. I was really acclimated just to working out by myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the idea of, I had started the Moms Run This Town I can't remember because I had a season I did do some running with Moms Run This Town. So I think I started that once I started the boot camp a little bit. So yeah, I was definitely a solo work. I would walk in the gym, I would do what I needed to do, and I walked out and I, I had that social hello, smile real quick, and then I walked away. Like
Okay.
I would check in and
Okay.
I'd leave.
Okay. How about you mentioned the sweet potatoes and the egg whites, and that's just a beautiful breakfast and exactly how I like to eat my breakfast. Can you give us any evening? Because I know that your kids do sports and you're on the go a lot, and your husband has a job that he is constantly outside of the home and not probably available a lot of evenings.
Yeah.
Do you have any go-to healthy foods or meal prep tip you can share with us?
I have loved, so I think since Clean and Shred a year or two ago, I have been a huge fan of the sheet pan dinners.
Yes.
And you can put those, you can just throw on the veggies, potatoes, you can even, any protein of choice. There, you can make fajitas on a sheet pan. You can do that. A lot of times I try to gear on Sundays to have some type of protein in the fridge ready to go.
Yeah.
So I don't go eat that slice of pizza at the game on Tuesday night because I'm hungry.
Yes,
So
yes. Having protein ready to go is probably my biggest tip for people too, because I feel like everything else is easy to grab, but you have to have something ready as far as if you want it to be cooked and you don't want it to be processed. You have to have something ready to go. And sometimes the processed stuff works too. We certainly have some better than I call it better than takeout options, where it might be like the Amy Lou chicken crumbles. Or last night, I was telling my class this morning about my soup last night. I bought like a Kevin's pre-made soup from Costco. It comes in like pouches. I put it in the crock pot. I added chicken thighs that I'd already had cooked earlier in the week. I put a couple handfuls of fresh spinach. We topped it with cilantro and jalapeno, a couple sliced eggs. It was dinner. And it was amazing. It was so delicious.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of hacks for better than takeout. That's kind of like one of my better than takeout food options. And I think that that's one thing that if you're in it for the long haul, like Sarah and myself, you need to have you're not going to be perfect all the time. Every meal is not going to be freshly prepared that evening. It's just not going to happen.
No.
So really think about that, you guys, as far as when you're shopping, and especially if you can have something that's in the freezer that you can just have it as a go-to. Sometimes it's like that chicken stir fry. I don't need, God knows where the chicken came from. It's just vegetables and chicken. You stick it on a pan. It's delicious. You could even do that as your sheet pan meal. And I think sometimes if we don't measure and we just put together a sheet pan meal like Sarah's talking about, like, oh, put some chicken, some peppers, some onions, put some seasoning on it, stick it in. You can do that really quick. But if you're trying to follow a recipe, then it's like, oh, how much of this? How much of that? I can't cook that way. That just takes too long.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that Sarah mentioned the sheet pan meal. Anything else you can think of, Sarah?
Yeah, one thing I took away also when we were doing Clean and Shred and we were doing a lot of meal prep was the 1 hour of prep time. Just set a timer and anything you can prep for the week for 1 hour on Sunday.
Yeah.
Breakfast, some snacks, anything that maybe that has been hard for you the previous week to do.
Yeah.
1 hour. And you can do it right as you're coming in from the grocery store. Just chop everything up or throw it in before the chicken gets frozen. Anything like that. I have various seasonings I just put with olive oil on chicken and then dice up the chicken. And it can go with salad, sides, everything. So it can be
awesome.
easy if you can plan it into your schedule on a week.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I like to do in this podcast, or hope to do in this podcast, is give you guys tips. So I think the tip that I took away from Sarah is put yourself out there as far as coaching, get opportunities. So she liked the winter challenge. It was something that took her outside of her comfort zone, put her with other like-minded people. She had a team leader. She had a coach that spoke to her. That's in her wheelhouse. She's an athlete. She's been coached before. So that was a positive experience for her. And then something like the Clean and Shred nutrition coaching program. A lot of times people do those 6-week programs thinking like, I want to lose 10 pounds in these 6 weeks. And of course, I'd love for you to get body composition changes. In Sarah's case, she did. She said she lost how much, Sarah?
8 or 9 pounds. Yeah.
That's a lot. She's not a big girl, so that's really significant. Doing the Clean and Shed program, losing 8 or 9 pounds. But the real value is what she learned and what she can keep doing. It's that high protein, healthy, real food breakfast. It's the prepping one thing on Sunday. I think that's one of the things that we're really good at in this community. Is sometimes you'll watch something and like, here's 90 things you can prep. And it's like set meals in these bags and it's zips and it's so stressful. And I'm like, oh my God, I would never do that. For me, it's like stick an extra pan of chicken in the oven. Oh, I pulled the roasted vegetables out. Let me roast some more. It's just so simple. And if you're the type that wants to get more, a little bit more fancy, then that's fine. But I think that what Sarah shared is really, really valuable. It's like not necessarily what you get out of that 6-week program, but it's the habits that you keep doing that actually move the needle. And Sarah, to me, is a star student. I've mentioned that before. I've acknowledged her over the years for lots of significant achievements. She actually won our individual challenge one year, which takes a lot of self-discipline because you don't have that team cheering for you. You're really kind of on your own little island, just kind of taking what you know and applying it. She's also very consistent. Like if Sarah didn't show up 2 days in a row, I'd be like, what's wrong? Something's wrong. So that's part of her identity. Yeah. And if you really want to be a healthier person, you need to take maybe not all the things we talked about, but something that's in your wheelhouse that feels doable. Nail it, get comfortable with that. And then once you do that, add to it. Mm-hmm. So for Sarah, the Saturday boot camps, and then she's kind of grown from there. I think that's a really good takeaway from this episode. Anything else, Sarah, that you would like to add?
No, I just take it one day at a time. We've had so many things we've talked about today. I think one thing that I've always taken away, and it was my grandmother that said, you just have to take it one day at a time. Don't look at next week, next month, next year, but make today, the best you can make it. And it's what you have today.
Yeah. I think that's really, really great advice. All right, guys, that's your takeaway tip from today. One day at a time. Be successful today and then walk into tomorrow with that 2-clap attitude. 2 claps, we got this. Sarah, thank you so much. She's a school teacher. She's off today, taking her time, precious time to share with this community. She's always been one to contribute in lots of different ways, and I'm very grateful for you. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much, Callie.
Have a great rest of the day, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Start Before You're Ready. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need a little motivation. Ready to start your own journey? Check out our workouts and nutrition coaching programs at kellysbootcamp.net. You can choose from in-person sessions or virtual programs. Set up a complimentary coaching session to get started. Follow along with me and the show on social media at Kellys_bootcamp. Until next time, this is Kelly Young reminding you that the best time to start is always now.